Hi everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about type 1 diabetes. Yay! I love type 1 diabetes. Obviously, I am a type 1 diabetic. Diabetes is probably my favorite subject, and I think I'm annoying everyone around me because that's all I can talk about. I think this is a good release for me, and I think I can actually help people to understand and manage their sugar. So I figured, let's create a channel so I can talk about diabetes the whole time. And I won't be annoying anyone because anyone watching this obviously has an interest. I wish there was someone to teach me or to help me or just talk to me like I'm talking to you now. Type 2 diabetes is a completely different story. This is mainly focused on type 1 diabetes. So, when I got diagnosed with diabetes 7 years ago, I had so many questions and no one could answer me. Or they could. It was just too much. You know, what to eat, what not to eat, when to eat, can you exercise? And I would have to sit with someone for hours and days and weeks, and there will still be things that you don't know. The only way for you to figure this out is to watch this series or to work and understand what your sugar does. The doctors gave me textbook advice, but there are so many factors contributing to your daily sugar. It's trial and error. When I got diagnosed, the doctor gave me a sliding scale and said, test your sugar before you eat. If your sugar is this, inject this regardless of what you are eating. That it doesn't make any sense, because if I eat a pizza or if I eat a salad, there's going to be a different outcome. I still used his ratios that he gave me. My insulin carbohydrate ratio is 1 insulin for every 10 carbohydrates that I eat. I inject 22 long-acting insulin every day, where the short or fast-acting insulin lasts 3 to 4 hours, which is also the amount of time that most foods last in your bloodstream. I am currently using T1D for my long-term insulin and Humalog for my short-term insulin. If you eat very fatty or oily foods like a hamburger, the glucose will stay in your bloodstream for longer, up to 6, maybe even 8 hours, depending on your activity. Something like sugar, cool drink, doesn't last very long, not even an hour, depending on how much you drink and your activity, and what you did yesterday and what you are doing now. My dietitian helped me balance my insulin with my carbs, so I can basically eat what I want as long as I control this. When I was diagnosed, I had the idea, and people still have the idea, that diabetics can't eat sugar, which is a lie, obviously. If you inject insulin and it is too much for the amount of carbs that you ate, you will go into a low or a hypo. Diabetics eat sugar and carbs. I probably eat more sugar now than I did before I was a diabetic, simply because I try to keep my sugar low or in range between 4 and 10. So I might inject a little bit more than I should in order for it not to spike. Someone who isn't a diabetic, their bodies will produce insulin as long as there is glucose in the bloodstream. As soon as there is no more glucose, the pancreas will stop producing insulin. If a diabetic or a type 1 diabetic injects insulin, it will work for the 3 to 4 hours regardless. So you have to keep on fueling your body with carbs or sugar in order for your sugar to stay up. For the first 2 years of my type 1 diabetes challenge, I had good sugar, but it was a bit low. I had a HbA1c, which is a 3-month average, basically. I had a HbA1c of about 5.8, which is great, but it's a bit too low, especially when you're not on a CGM. I was using a Contour Plus meter to test my sugar with finger pricks, and my sugar was mainly low, which I thought was great. But low sugar is much worse for your body than high sugar. Obviously, they're both bad. High sugar in the long term will cause complications with your eyes, your kidneys, your feet. The main thing is to keep yourself from going into a coma from a hypo, which is a low. Anything below 2, you are in trouble. The first 2 years, I tried to learn as much as I could. I didn't necessarily have enough money to get a pump or a CGM, so I stuck with my finger pricks and my quick pens. And that was great, it worked fine. Although, if I look back now, I don't know how I survived those couple of years. About 2 years ago, I went into a coma from a low. So what happened is, it was a Sunday, and we've been drinking the night before, which also brings your sugar down for the entire next day. And I ate an omelette, which has little to no carbs in it. And I figured I want to eat later on. So at the time, my sugar was about 4 or 5, and I injected 6 fast-acting insulin, which is way too much. For that, I should have been eating 60 grams of carbs, which is about 4 slices of bread. And I took a nap, very bad decision. And when I woke up, my sugar was super low. I woke up from the low sugar. I felt I wasn't feeling well. I ran to the fridge, I got cool drink, and I passed out. I can't remember anything after that, but I broke my arm, I twisted my back. It was a nightmare. After that, I figured, well, I should probably get some help. And thus, I got the Dexcom CGM. I don't know how I went without it, ever. What the CGM also does, it gives you a graph of your sugar. So you can actually see what your sugar does between finger prick 1 and finger prick 2. While you're sleeping, you can actually see what your sugar does. Besides the fact that it gives you alerts when you go too low or too high, it gives you an idea of what your sugar does when you're not looking, and what certain foods do what and when, how fast your insulin is reacting to whatever you ate. At the moment, my sugar is very well managed. Not to brag. New studies have shown that your HbA1c is not as important as your time in range. And the range is between 4 and 10. That's your safety, that's your perfect sugar. If your sugar is well maintained, your risk is the same as someone who doesn't have diabetes. It is not your fault that you have type 1 diabetes. For many years, I didn't do any research on what causes diabetes. I was blaming myself a lot because I thought maybe I caused this to happen. It's not true. Nothing causes type 1 diabetes. It's something in your DNA. The doctor said they don't know. No one knows what causes type 1 diabetes. So there are factors such as stress, trauma, that could cause a trigger. If it's in your genes or in your DNA, you will get type 1 diabetes one way or another. If not now, later. When I was diagnosed, I was still a student at varsity. I was very free-spirited, out of control. I was drinking, smoking, and that's also why I thought maybe it was my fault. I think if type 1 diabetes didn't come along, I probably would have died already from something else, either an overdose or whatever. You can still live a normal, healthy life with type 1 diabetes if you do keep it under control. I Googled people with type 1 diabetes just to see what they look like. It's one of the diseases that you can't necessarily see on someone, which is great. Type 1 diabetes really keeps you on track. Technology is amazing, and there's a lot of things that can help you maintain your sugar. One thing to understand about type 1 diabetes is that there is no cure. You will not be cured regardless of what anyone says or tries to sell you. What you can do is manage it in a way that you basically don't have diabetes. There doesn't have to be a cure if you can look after it. In the following episodes, we will be talking about how to treat lows, how to treat highs, how to exercise, what to eat, what not to eat, when to eat, and let me know what you think. Post comments, subscribe. I look forward to this journey together. See you next time.